they played well enough to win and win pretty good. You know what I mean? I thought the Celtics didn't show up to play at all, and maybe if they showed some fight in the second half, they would have lost by 15 or so.
Is he in the Red Sox Team Hall of Fame?
He is also in the Red Sox Hall of Fame.
Something about this guy being in the Team Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I did.
So,
Deserving, man.
which seems like it fits.
Sports. All right, we're back. It's time to make some money. We are all in. Nobody knows what's in the Styrofoam cup, but nobody knew what was in Lil Wayne's Styrofoam cup. So there we go.
Young Weezy.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Cory Dickman is back. Cory, before we get into our picks, I spent the first segment talking about Bill Belichick possibly being a coach at North Carolina.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You're pretty knowledgeable fan of sports in general. What do you think about that? Like, what's your instant reaction?
So, instant reaction. Well, I'll say this first. This wasn't prep, by the way, but I'll say this first. So, like Saban, right? Wasn't Saban part of the Belichick tree?
Yes.
At this point, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So, and they're cut from the same cloth, clearly. And I think the college game got away from Saban, right? He had it down, how he recruited, how they probably paid players their own way in Alabama, and everyone was going to turn the other cheek. And now that it's a wide open field, right? Nick was like, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
There's no way Belichick goes in there at the age of 74, right? Isn't he
72.
72. And hits the ground running and recruits and does the portal game. You know, he's used to like, get in here, do your job, right?
Yeah.
Do your job. Tom, you take a pay cut. Everyone do your job. And like, you know, and he's going to follow Mac Brown. Like, they need to go the other way. Find a 32-year-old and get the youngest coach in the FBS, not the oldest coach. So no, disaster. Why would you do that? What is North Carolina thinking? What in your right mind would think he goes in there and changes the North Carolina Tar Heel football program? Right?
You said it.
Or do you disagree? Or you think
I think there's a path where it could be interesting, but I try to keep an open mind. All right, that's why I asked you. All right, let's get to the picks.
Do you think there's a connection, like Drake May, quarterback at UNC, left for the Patriots, and then they get Bill Belichick? Maybe it was a swap thing.
I don't know. I think his new girlfriend might be behind it, but that's a whole like crazy theory.
Hire her.
Like,
she's young enough.
I feel like she's got friends in Charlotte that can like. It's so close to North Carolina to like Chapel Hill.
She graduated last year, right? From college?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm ready. Let's talk some betting. Let's do
some I'm ready. I'm ready to rock. Let's go.
All right. Okay. Last week we had much better. It was a better week. We were coming off of a 0-3 2 weeks ago. And the Thanksgiving weekend, Pete, is always a little iffy sometimes, right?
Yes.
I was skittish to some degree. I've had some bad beats past Thanksgivings, but we charged forward. And so NCAA, the college picks, we went 2-1, which is good. That's what we always should just do. If we're not going to go 3-0, we have to go 2-1, right?
Yeah, of course.
So the hits, I'm doing 2 cards this week, Pete. So this is throwing me off. I said Colorado. It was Oklahoma State. Our friend Mr. Ingham, his alma mater, played Colorado, and I said this is going to be a slaughter because Colorado played on Friday night. Right, they had to set the tone for all these ties and possible scenarios in the Big 12 championship, and so they didn't know the results yet. So they started and they blew out Oklahoma State. This was minus 16.5 is what we took. They won by like 48. I don't know, Pete. Right? They're still scoring. Shador.
I think it was 52-0.
Incredible. There was a part of me that wanted to look at what an alt bet would have been. Like if you had taken Colorado plus 30 or a minus 30, you would have been at like plus 700, and you would have had still room to go. So slaughtered that pick.
Did you ever do a lightning bet? You know what those are?
What's a lightning bet?
So a lightning bet, this is, as I remember it, like if you take Colorado, right, like every point they win by, you get like extra money. And the same thing with every point they would lose by. Yeah.
I like that. Okay, I'm going to look for the lightning bet.
Oh, no.
All right. That's next week.
Lauren, I apologize.
All right. Okay, now we're going to go to the loss because we did have a loss. Scotty, this is a heartbreaking clip. Keep in mind, we had Clemson minus 2.5. Okay, Scotty, roll the clip.
Time for Sellers. Eludes the pressure. There he goes. Lenora Sellers again to the end zone. He made it.
I still, my blood boils watching that clip. I cannot believe that happened. 3rd and 16. Pete, do you know Lenore Sellers' stat line from this game?
Lenore? No, I don't.
Lenore?
But I know his name.
Lenore, potato. He had 164 yards throwing and 166 yards rushing. The man had 2 more yards running than he did throwing, and they end up winning this game. Just throw 12 in the box. I know you can't have that many defenders on the field. The man's not going to throw at 3rd and 16. He can only run. How did this happen? This is a
breakdown.
Breakdown. But you know what, Pete? There was still a minute left on the clock for Clemson. And all they had to do really was they could win the game, which would have covered, or kick the field goal and tie. And all they had to win was by 2.5. So we had some chance in overtime. Scotty, play the clip.
2 plays before a potential field goal attempt. Klubnik buys some time. It wasn't picked off. Was it intercepted? It was. Knight picked it up. Off the fingertips of Mappa. Knight
off the fingertips of Mappa. If you watch it, it like hits his hand and his arm, and then it's that awful.
That's my buddy Roy Philpott announcing that game too. He did a great job.
He did a really good job calling it.
He's from Clemson. He's a Clemson homer, so he had to be right down the middle with all that.
Oh, geez Louise.
Yeah.
He did a good job calling it. That was a disaster. So we had multiple ways we could have
Great job, Scotty, with the clips. That was good.
Scotty, killing it with the clips. So you lose that one. And then you know what, Pete? This last one, and I'm ashamed to be in this room with all these people, with Scotty, with you, just all of us. And the disrespect everybody had for our Baylor Bears, even the betting line +1.5 against this Kansas team that you were like, oh, Kansas, you're better. And what does Baylor do, Pete? We just go and win the game, man. It wasn't even, we weren't even close to this 1.5 point.
It was amazing.
And Baylor handles their business, moves to 8 wins, will get a better bowl. And you know who didn't make a bowl? Kansas. So sorry, Kansas, you're out of it. I was so happy because you were doubting this, Pete. You were like, Cory, Kansas, and I get it. Was I probably angry at Kansas because they've done me wrong the last few weeks? Sure. Yeah. But I was happy about this. So,
dude, it was an amazing pick because really, I mean, Kansas again had beaten 3 ranked teams in a row.
Yeah.
Kansas was almost favored in that game on the road at Baylor.
Ran out of gas. I think you can't. Kansas, that's hard to do that week in and week out, especially as an underdog or really climbing back into the standings. There was just that you can't win 4 in a row, I think. And Baylor home game, McLean showed up, 11 o'clock start, got the win. So happy about that, 2-1. The NFL will go quickly here. Cincinnati, I hate Cincinnati. I know hate's a strong word, and you don't want to hate anybody. I can't stand them. They let me down. I'm done with them. They were -2.5. This was a must-win game against Pittsburgh, and they I was going to say another word. They laid down. They pooped the bed. They didn't care, and so they lose by 6, which was super depressing. But the game we covered, which was, I will say, when we slaughter, when we hit picks and I say, great, look at us, I'll also say it the other way. Tampa at Carolina over 46.5. We needed a little Baker magic at the end to force overtime. That got us to 46 points, 23-23. And then we ended up getting the game-winning field goal in overtime. But it almost looked like a tie there for a second.
Yes.
There was a moment where there could have been a tie, which would have sucked. But we hit the over. That worked.
What's the overall record? Let's go.
Okay, overall record. So college, we're 20-15-1, 20 wins, 15
nice.
1 tie. We're back on track. The NFL, we're 15-14, so 1 up right now. We went 1-1 this past weekend. And then the mortgage, we hit the mortgage. You paid your mortgage, Pete. You can stay in the house that you're currently in. This, and again, wasn't even really close. Browns at Broncos. We needed the Broncos to win by 1. They covered that. And then 49ers at Bills. That was a disaster of a game for the 49ers. The Bills end up winning. They covered -2. So
we refresh my memory. Did we have any action on the Bears and the Lions? We didn't. That's right. You didn't do one.
Stayed away from Thanksgiving.
Okay.
The only thing I touched on, and for our underdog, download the Underdog app. Remember, use promo code 360.
Scotty is all over the Underdog app. I mean, they've already, regardless of what we do with our marketing campaign, Scotty's already hit the quota. They're like, wow, this guy. Yeah.
Scotty's got us covered. The Underdog pick was the Black Friday game, Kansas City versus the Raiders. We had Xavier Worthy over 32.5. He hit that. Brock Bowers over 49.5. He hit that. Patrick Mahomes, 24.5 completions. It was a little close, but we got there. So we had 3 of the 4. So we made money right there. We were at 1.5 was
Excuse me.
The qualifier there. Bless you, Pete.
Thank you.
But the one we didn't hit, which would have got us at that 14x, which is what would have been great, would have been that Noah Gray
14x.
Oh, it would have been great. 14 times our money.
Yeah.
We didn't hit it, but we still made money. So, I got one for you this week. But yeah, Pete, that was how it went. That's how it went last week.
All right, let's find out how it's going to go.
Here we go. Now it's going to go. Okay. This is one of my favorite weekends.
So, by the way, the college now, look, it's scaled back, dude. The action this week, like what? So let's go.
Yeah, this felt like a good UCLA week for me, but sadly they're not able to be picked.
No, and they fired Eric Bieniemy, so you're gonna have to follow him to wherever he goes and bet on him.
Send a tweet to old Eric, and I said, "Look, man, I had your back. You covered more than you didn't this year, which is a win in my book. So give that man a trophy." All right, we're going championship games, Pete. That's what this week is.
Okay.
Georgia at UT, Texas University.
Yeah.
They are favored -2.5. This is their first time ever being in an SC.
Texas is favored by 2.5.
Texas is favored by 2.5. Did you hear what happened this morning? Did you hear what they're not
Bevo?
letting? Poor Bevo. If UT needed any motivation, that's what it is. You're going to let the Bulldog go, but not the big Longhorn.
I was talking to Christy this morning, and she watches The Real Housewives. And I was talking to her about this woman, Kelly Ben-Simone, who was on years ago. I was like, you see, Kelly's back in the news, I was like, she's a Real Housewives, like, GOAT. And she's like, no, she's not. She's, like, dangerous. They don't even let her on the show anymore. I was like, oh, wow. So she's kind of like Bevo. Like, Bevo's dangerous. They're not letting it. He's not allowed to be at the game. There's not enough room, and he's a danger to people.
Well, and Pete, this goes in life for us humans. It's like that, 5 years ago was when he pushed the gate down or whatever he did. That's a person can change after 5 years, and so can a bull. So I think it's very unfair that they're putting.
I agree.
They're holding this against Bevo, but in reality, Pete, you have Georgia. Georgia's been in these SEC championship games, and they know this doesn't matter, right? Win or lose, they're in the playoff. They only care about the playoff. UT, first year in the SEC, they want to make a statement. They want to make sure they get the bye. They come out and win this game. They're going away winning this game.
I like your thinking.
I'd say -6.5. Juice it up a little bit. But
by the way, did you see that? I did that short about UT the other day.
Yeah.
It gets like 2,000 views. Like people, you say, like the people are the UT fans are ready for this, dude.
Oh, they're so ready for this. They've been waiting because really UT, and we know this being in the Big 12 with them. They've been down for a while, really, especially to the UT standards. Back when I was in school, it was like, oh yeah, if you could even. I remember my freshman year at Baylor. We were beating UT in the first quarter. At the end of the first quarter, we were up like 14-6. And it was like we had a parade down 5th Street. We ended up getting slaughtered. But they've been down for a long time. They come in, win this game by 2.5. All right. I'll save that one. We'll go here first.
What do you mean we'll start, guys?
Oh, I'm going to finish with this last one. Clemson, you're dead to me. You're dead to me. You're dead. All of you are dead. Your friend, that's the announcer, he's dead. Roy Philpott's dead to me. They're playing SMU. Clemson has really nothing to play for here. I mean, I know if they win, they're in, right? Pete, isn't that how this whole thing works? So
that's how it looks.
They don't want it. They didn't want it last week when they had it there, 3rd and 16. They didn't want it against South Carolina. SMU. again, just another team that's like wanting to prove themselves. Like we've been this program that has never really had a chance, especially after they got the death penalty and all that stuff. They're minus 2.5 too. I like the 2.5. Give me the ponies. Give me the ponies.
I disagree with you.
Oh no.
That's all. Just remember this next week, and you can probably get after me if I'm wrong. The game's in Charlotte. It's too close to Clemson. They always go to. It's a weird deal. So
okay, well we'll see. Well, last week's game was at Clemson, and they lost.
Yeah. And I was wrong last week with Baylor, so we'll see.
That's true. You were. So SMU minus 2.5. Give me a pony win by a field goal. And then you love these teams. You call these games. You wear this jersey. Iowa State versus Arizona State, the Big 12 championship. This is like the black sheep of all the teams right now, right? It's like, well, I guess one of these teams has to be in, so let's just see whoever the winner is from the Big 12. I don't know who's going to win, Pete. I don't want to try to pick it, but you know what's going to happen? They're not going to score more than 49.5 combined points. This is Iowa State, Arizona State. Low scoring game, under 49.5.
I love that. Cory, I love that bet.
I don't know who's going to win. I looked this over. No idea. I was like,
I think Iowa State is going to win, and I think it's going to be low scoring. I think Arizona State being without their best wide receiver, Jordan Tyson, really hurts them. Sure. I also think they're playing like too early in the morning. It's like a clumsy time for Arizona State. Yeah. Like, I think you're right. I think Iowa State wins the game. It's like 20-19.
The only guy I'm worried about, who's the little guy?
Scatterboo.
God, that guy is so good.
He's awesome.
He's so good. I worry about him scoring a lot of points. Under 49.5. Okay. Those are our picks. So UT minus 2.5, SMU minus 2.5, Iowa State, Arizona State under 49.5.
By the way, I like doing championship week with you in college because I feel like I can wrap my mind around this better.
Yeah, this is the best time of the year.
Yeah.
This is so fun. Okay. NFL, you ready for the big boys?
Yeah, let me get my phone back.
Okay, get your phone back. All right. This game, you may look at this and be like, who would even want to watch this game? Right? It's like, I get you.
Scumbags like you.
But the line feels good to me. And I'm talking about the Aaron Rodgers-led Jets going down to Miami, Florida, Pete, and playing the Dolphins. Okay? The Jets are dead. The Dolphins have a tad bit of life, but they're pretty much dead too. Give me over 44.5. I think this game gets wild. I think Rodgers has a swan song moment here. Is that a swan song? Is that what
yeah, swan song. Yeah.
I think they score some points. I think Tyreek may have a better game here. Devon Achane is playing really well. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. I think give me over 44.5. Feels like
that's what it is. 44. It still is 44.5. Okay.
It feels like a low line. These teams aren't really playing for anything. I think if the Dolphins like won out, maybe there's a scenario there where they could be a wild card. But it just feels like there's going to be points. I think the defenses are going to take a day off here.
Okay. All right.
So give me 44.5. Over 44.5. Then this is the one I'm scared, but I feel good. But I'm scared. The Bears going to the 49ers. If you have a team this in all the NFL, Pete, that had a chance but no longer does, and I mean at winning the title, going to the Super Bowl.
It's the 49ers.
49ers. And now they don't. Like 49ers, they're a shell of themselves. Everybody's hurt. This is a bad year. The Bears are plus 3.5. I think Caleb Williams could lead that team and go get a win against the 49ers. I'm not going to take the win, but 3.5, it could be a field goal game. And I think that feels good. I think the Bears, the new coach deal, maybe that plays a part in this as well, which has always been a pretty hot thing this year and in the past as well. So give me the Bears without Eberflus, that guy. We're all texting, me, you, and Scotty. That was just a disaster. Like
I told you he was going. I hate to say I told you, I knew he was going to get fired. I was like, that's the worst thing I've ever seen. I feel bad for the guy.
I should have taken a screenshot of our text thread and we should have put it up here because we were calling that. I mean, again, I love to mention my in-laws because they're the best people, not big football people, but they're the best people.
What do they say?
Oh, they were like, that was bad. Like, you know, my mother-in-law was like, was that supposed to happen? I was like, no, not supposed to. So when she's calling out the head coach, they got to be fired.
That's it. That's it.
You can't come back from that. So give me Bears plus 3.5. New coach. They love the coach. They always love the new coach.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The locker room loves the interim guy. But Bears travel the 49ers 3.5.
Okay.
All right. Mortgage. Ready? You gonna call your lender here, Pete? Your mortgage lender? This is This is a good spot for a sponsor here. We need a mortgage sponsor. Mike, our boy Mike, he's a podcaster, not Mike Hamilton, but he has a show with us, and he could be our sponsor here. Anyway, the Bills going to the Rams. Okay, Pete, we've seen this story with the Rams. I don't believe in them. I think the Bills, again, they're rolling here. They're going to roll all the way on to the one seed.
By the way, does Mike own like a dispensary or something? Like that was the most vague. Like what is Mike?
Well, no, it's because I couldn't remember Mike's last name. I'm blanking on Mike's last name right now. No,
okay.
he owns a mortgage company.
Gotcha. Okay.
Not a dispensary. He owns a mortgage company.
Well, I thought the dispensary because it could alleviate some of the stress that you throw people with some of these.
Mike Hamilton's trying to tell me that I can't. Mike Nelson. What's his podcast called? Efficient Lending is the name of his mortgage.
Oh, wow. I think we do have a sponsor for the mortgage bet.
All right. Mortgage bet brought to you by Efficient Lending with Mike Nelson. Mike, it checks in the mail, Mike.
Yeah.
Bills at Rams. Give me Bills, Pete. They're minus 3.5 right now. We're going to tease this 5 points, get this to plus 1.5 for the Bills going to the Rams. So that's the first part of the mortgage. The second part, again, this team's dead to me. I hate the Bengals. This is a very hateful segment today. I shouldn't be so hateful. Bengals, I can't stand them. Going to the Cowboys. Are you looking? How many points are we giving the boys here? How many points are the Cowboys getting? You
Cowboys are getting 5 points.
5
at home.
I have 5.5. I'm taking mine. 5.5. Our FanDuel sponsor. 5.5 points. We're juicing that to 10.5 with the tees. 10.5. Our boy Matt Mosley.
I'd love to. We should get those guys would never do it, but wouldn't it be cool to get a doomsday pick?
Mosley doesn't believe in this stuff.
He doesn't?
I don't think he's a big better.
No,
we can talk to him about it. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe Ed Werder can pick a game for us too. 10.5 is where we're getting this.
Speaking of checks in the mail,
10.5. Checks in the mail. 10.5. The Cowboys on a 2-game win streak. They're going to make it 3. I think the Cowboys are going to keep this interesting this season. They're not dead yet, Pete.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. Are you prepared for the Cooper Rush versus Dak Prescott argument that's going to happen at the end of the year?
No, but I am prepared for why Mike McCarthy should stay. I am.
Oh, that's probably one bad part. Okay. All right. So those are our picks. So to recap, Jets at Dolphins over 44.5. The Bears travel to San Francisco, play the Niners, plus 3.5. Give me the Bears. And then our mortgage pick is Bills plus 1.5. Cowboys plus 10.5 as we get the 5-point tease in there for a two.
I like that. I really like that, by the way.
It feels good, man. It feels good. And then we'll wrap it up with our real sponsor, Underdog Sports. It's a fantasy app. Go download the app. You can do it in Texas. You can pick over-unders. That's basically, it's super simple, right? Will Pete Souza throw for over 250 yards? Over-under. No, Scotty says no. Yeah. So this is mine. This is mine for the upcoming. I did an NFL one Sunday. Okay. I spread it around because you can do this. It doesn't all have to be in the same game. You could even do a college one and pair it with an NFL. Like you can mismatch. You can do an NBA one if you want. I did an NFL one and I did 4 players on 4 different teams. Okay. The first one, Alvin Kamara against the Giants, over 120.5 yards plus receiving yards, rushing plus receiving, 120 yards. Kamara is going to tear up the Giants. This is going to be Alvin Kamara's, he's a fantasy player and I bet has himself on every team. And really that's all that there is to play for in this game is going to be fantasy numbers. So he's going to go over 120.5. Our boy Brock Bowers, 71.5 yards, too low. That's way too low. All they're going to do is throw to this man.
Yeah.
So over 71.5 yards. I alluded to this earlier. He's on my fantasy team, so I'm a little partial here. But Devon Achane, 92.5 combined rushing and receiving. I said this game's going to go over. If it goes over, he's going to have a big game, and he catches a lot of passes.
Yeah.
He almost gets more receiving yards than rushing yards. So, and the Jets aren't going to have any sort of resistance against this guy. So, give me over 92.5. And then your boy, Saquon. I couldn't pick the over with his yards peak because it was so high. It was like 130 yards. but 21.5 rushing attempts. They're going to have a lead. I think the Eagles roll. He will carry the ball 22 times.
Yeah. And by the way, I think like too, like, and I do believe in this, like it is a copycat league. The NFL is. And now we're finding ourselves in a place where running backs we're loading them up with carries. We're loading them up with success and opportunities. And I think you're right. I think it's a great time to pick someone like Saquon to go over in carries.
Yeah. And it's getting a little colder now.
Yep.
Hand the ball off. I think, the worst thing that could derail, obviously a Saquon injury would be awful, but they got to keep Jalen upright. And really the question mark has been A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Like those guys have just been injured, both of them on and off all year. So I think they're going to keep this game on the ground and make their way into the playoffs. I don't know if they'll catch Detroit. I mean, they have a real chance to, but I think anyway, Saquon, hand the ball off to Saquon. He'll take care of us. 22 carries. That's
rock and roll. So Cory Dickman, all in bets. Go ahead.
If you hit it all, 6x. You get 6 times your money. If you go 3 out of 4, you get 1.5. So you make a little bit.
Read that off one more time.
You get 6.5. So
no. The bet.
Oh, okay. Alvin Kamara over 120.5 rushing and receiving yards. Brock Bowers over 71.5 receiving yards. Devon Achane over 92.5 rushing and receiving yards. And then Saquon over 21.5 carries, rushing carries.
I like that.
Gets you.
I like the whole
6 times your money. Plus 600. Let's do it.
And we're doing it. All in bets. Cory Dickman, baby. I love how we're positive on the year. I love how we keep building, adding sponsors, adding wildly inappropriate bets. It's perfect.
Wow. And this is coffee, by the way. It's coffee. Okay, come on now.
No, it's not. Cory Dickman. We'll see you next week. Thanks, brother.
It's the Pete Souza Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories